So guys, if you are at the moment running an e-commerce project, you've probably been in a situation where you think, look, hey, this is going to be pretty simple. We've got a project plan. We're going to run the project out. We're going to build the Shopify store, whatever it might be that you're doing. And you kind of get maybe a couple of weeks in and think, look, you know what, this isn't quite as we imagined. And you won't be alone if you're kind of one of those people who are thinking, look, actually, things haven't worked out the way that we'd exactly planned. Now, here at Blend, we have been running, obviously, e-commerce projects, particularly Shopify store redesigns now for about 3 or 4 years. And I think one of the really interesting things for us is that how it's evolved in terms of how you can manage a project with the tools that are available, and also just kind of some of the systems and processes are there. But with saying that, there's a lot of work that's gone into that to obviously make it something that is, you know, a more streamlined process and something that is easier to manage. So what I'm going to do today is I'm really happy to actually introduce you guys Peter Racz, who is a project manager here at Blend Commerce. And he's going to basically share some insights with us all today about how to succeed with your e-commerce project. So I'd like to welcome Peter to the recording here. So Peter, thanks for joining us.
Hello, hi everyone. So
cool. So I mean, Peter, would you do you want to give us a bit of an introduction about you? Tell everyone a bit more about yourself.
Yeah. So basically, the topic is today how to succeed with your project, e-commerce project, and a little bit about me is I'm a project manager at Blend. I'm managing projects since 2008. I work with small to large size clients like EcoKids, Duvest, or Yamaha. I developed free tailored PM systems during my career, and I deliver projects in agile and traditional methods as well. However, I believe in the tailored solutions.
Excellent, thank you. So Peter, I know you mentioned there, obviously, that you've been managing projects since 2008. Was that exclusively with Shopify? Have you kind of worked on other kind of project management type setups as well?
Yeah, so basically it was Shopify since 2017, I think. And basically before that, I managed different systems. Like we had something on Joomla I think it started with Joomla and its own e-commerce system, but it was really in the past. It was ages ago. And I also managed some projects with Drupal, so not just e-commerce.
Cool. Peter, question for you. What's the best thing about being a project manager?
Best thing of being a project manager? Well, I think is a daily challenge is that it's a daily variety of the challenges because so it's always you never have the same day again. And basically everything all the time everything is changing and you have to react to the changes, of course, but it's so fun that it's like surfing on the waves basically.
Like it. I like that analogy. And I suppose the other question is then, what's the worst thing about being a project manager?
Worst thing being a project manager?
You're not allowed to say lots of things, so you've got to say one thing.
Whoa. It's a tricky question. So you cannot have bad jokes because people will not necessarily like you. But I think what is a crucial thing is to be up to date with everything all at the same time. So it's pretty challenging and it's hard. So it's the same thing, which is riding on the waves, but sometimes the waves could catch you and pull you down or push you down under the water, but you always have to stand up and basically just go forward.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'll let you carry on. That was just a couple of questions from me there.
Okay, so today's topic is how you can have your project run in the best possible way. Typical problems what we face with a project is deadlines not met, hidden costs, poor quality, and I think the most or the worst thing is no results at the end. So these are the problems what we face, and I think the solution is a well-designed but flexible project management system that helps you plan, track your project, and minimize the risk. It's a beautiful sentence, but we will get into the details now.
Excellent.
What project phases do we have to maximize the effectiveness, and how do we maximize the effectiveness of them? So we've got the following project phases at Blend. It's introduction, discovery, build, QA/QC, reviews, launch, and follow-up. in the introduction phase, so basically you sign the contract and you possibly receive an email from me or Peter Gardner. Then the project starts, and the first thing what we do is we have an introduction meeting. There's two purposes of the introduction meeting. The first thing is that we introduce you Monday.com, our project management tool. I think I can share you. Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, no problem.
I can share you a quick screenshot. I can show you the board what we use for Monday. So basically, this is the project management tool what you will meet in the beginning of the project. So we've got board in Monday, and you've got the project board. And in the board, we've got group of items, groups and items, what we call pools. So if you refer to pools in the project, you just imagine that this is kind of a task what we want to say.
Yeah. Quick question on this. I mean, I know this is something that I remember being asked a couple of times by our clients is that, why don't we use something like a spreadsheet or Google Sheets rather than using kind of a project management tool?
Well, basically, so I think many companies experience that if you start to use emails, you pretty much easily get lost in the email threads, and the info gets lost, and we just cannot track it, cannot follow what the original info was and who received what. So in a project management tool, we know exactly that, yes, this is the pools, this is the item. If I open the item, for example, just team access pools, I know that I can put all the info here. And basically, I just tag the person, and the person will receive an email. Of course, so we have emails, but just as notifications. And basically, we can follow up the original update with replies or likes. So this way, information will not get lost.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think, probably, I would say, if there are any Shopify merchants who are watching, you're kind of thinking, look, you're about to embark on, obviously, going forward with a project, or you're managing a project by yourself. Do you think about this, the tool that you're going to use? Because I think, looking at obviously the work that Peter does with his team, from my point of view as, another member of obviously Peter's team, is the ability to see things quickly in real time. I think is really important. Would you say that's one of the things, Peter, that a lot of our clients like too, isn't it? It's that real time view.
Yeah. So basically, everything is in real time in the board.
Okay, great.
And I think another couple of other things is that the UI UX is very good. So usually when clients start to use this board and this tool, they always say that it's quite easy to use. And the other thing is that I think we had a story when one client said that they really like the tool, so they decided to use themselves for their own company.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, actually, that it's kind of it's something that we use, I guess, in Blend to kind of manage our business too, isn't it, let alone just projects. And I think that's the nice thing here, is that if you're using a tool like Monday already, you can use that then to go through to actually create certain projects too, which is a really nice feature to have. From the introduction phase, Peter, I mean, what are some of the key questions that people tend to ask you when we start working with them in that initial phase?
Yeah, so basically, usually in the kickoff meeting agenda is to go through the deliverables first. So this is where we would like to go through the original proposal and discuss that, yes, we've got all the information to start it, or they have new information since in the last couple of days, or since they signed the contract, maybe, because it could happen. So basically, we would like to make sure that we've got all the deliverables and both parties agree on everything. And basically, we discuss the timeline at this point. So we provide all the milestones and deadlines that needs to be met. And this is the point where we talk about the apps as well, and we provide potential options which we prefer for the client. So for which plans are we suggest, and basically stuff like that. And we've got a general QA where they have any kind of a question, we can discuss it.
And I think it's really important, isn't it, that this first stage, because the ultimate thing, I guess what you're saying here is that if you start off by both having a clear understanding of what those deliverables and milestones are, then you kind of work it like a team. I think that's one of the things that I've always picked up from you, is that when you manage a project, you talk to a client as saying, look, we are a team together. And I think that sometimes can be quite a difficult thing, especially when you're working with an agency, like us or any other Shopify agency, that you need to get it into your mindset that you're doing this together. And I think it's kind of an odd thing, because ultimately, look, a client is paying us, or you as a person is paying an agency to help you. But it's kind of getting that mindset right from the start, which I think is something that you always focus on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So basically, we are one team. And I can understand that the client is paying money and basically we're receiving it, but we need both parties to succeed with the project. And my interest is to help the client as much as I can, because I would like them to succeed. And
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you.
So after the introduction, we start with the discovery phase. So the purpose of the discovery phase is basically to gather as much relevant information as we can from the market, from the existing site, and all of these surrounding elements. The first info gathering is we have a kickoff meeting, and we send you something called case stakeholder interviews. So this is an hour-long questionnaire where what basically goes through all the relevant business informations. We will do an in-depth analysis then using Google Analytics, Hotjar, and UI, and we will provide the UI UX report as well. So the next step is to provide the reports after the in-depth analysis. We also provide detailed wireframes next. I think I've got something that I can show. For example, for one of our clients, we created the following wireframes.
Because I think the thing that some people might say, Peter, is that why do we go for wireframes rather than mockups?
Well, I would say it depends on the situation. Sometimes we can do mockups without wireframes, but if you would really like to make sure that all the details are there, we suggest to have wireframes, because it's easier to change them than the design. And basically, it gives you a high-level structure about how things should look like. So this is the purpose of the wireframes, basically.
And I think the other thing, the nice thing with wireframes too is that if you are a merchant who are kind of thinking, well, what do I need? I think the thing with the wireframe here as RP2 is that it's more focusing on the kind of the higher level strategy of what the site is going to do, rather than kind of those minute details that we get lost in, don't you? We get lost in, look, what is the font going to be like? What is the image going to be for the main header image? And I guess the wireframe, it allows you to kind of see through all of that. And it's kind of, from this point of view, this is how it's the construction of the site is going to get people to navigate through it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, it's a big help for the clients to see the high level structure of the site. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
And basically after the wireframes, we provide the mockups that will wow you. And after we finalize the mockups, we will create a detailed project scope. I think it's just to mention that at this point, it's important that you will need the client, or you will need approximately half days to review the reports, wireframes, and mockups. It's just so basically this is what we talked about previously, that we are a team and we need your input as well. So it's just an input means time.
I think that's the thing here. It's that this is where that really starts coming to play, isn't it? The fact that we're doing this together, and
Yes.
ultimately, yes, the agency is there as the expert, but we need your part of the bargain as a client, or your agency needs you to give you that input as we go along to make sure you can get it right from the start. I think there's nothing more frustrating than when you get so far down the project that so much of the site is built that you then have to make changes. And I think ultimately from a client's point of view too is that they would then have to wait a lot longer when all of that work has been done, rather at this stage where it's easy to say, yeah, look, great, we can change the tactic here, or we can change the design at this point, which is much easier to do, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. These levels of or phases of projects are basically built on each other, and basically narrow down the risk, basically. So this is a kind of a risk management as well, that we would like to make sure that everything is planned ahead.
Cool.
So so the next phase is, once we have the scope ready, is the build phase. So this is the point when the detailed project scope will be implemented. We've got developers with several years of experience. It's also important to mention that we use Git version control to avoid overwriting each other's work, and have the code in a safe place. We also introduced, well, I'm saying it's mandatory now, to use Rewind, which is a backup app basically for Shopify. I think I can show a couple of screenshots as well.
And guys, if you want to kind of find out more about Rewind, there's a great article on blendcommerce.com about Rewind and why we kind of, like Peter says there, we make that mandatory now for clients we work with.
Yeah, so basically, I think one story is that a client, so basically it helps you to recover lost data. And one story is about this is, we had a client who asked for a second store, a development store, where they can just play around, using it as a sandbox, and just playing around with the site, the collections and everything. And the client accidentally started to delete and change things on the live store instead of the sandbox. But because we had Rewind, we were able to recover all the data. So it wasn't a disaster, but it was thanks to Rewind, basically.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's a lot of people, I think, have that assumption that this is kind of something that's built into Shopify. And I think, unfortunately, it's often too late when obviously people need something like this. And I think, look, I think even the cheapest service for Rewind is about $9 a month. So, Rewind always talk about it as kind of like an insurance policy. And I would 100% agree with them that, it's a very good investment for that small amount of money each month to kind of have that peace of mind that, like you said, Peter, it's such an easy thing to do and to make that mistake, isn't it?
Yeah. So mistakes can happen anytime, and basically Rewind can cover you. So basically, I just want to say that you are in safe hands with these Git version control and Rewind. And we also use float resource management to minimize unforeseen issues caused by delays. So it's so as a project manager, I know that delays happens, and I know that there are new requirements and changes and everything what we have to react to. And basically, we've got a resource management tool. I'm just checking that why it's not.
Yeah, I'll probably load up in a second. It's always a little bit slow when we do this recording.
Okay. Okay, so it's here. So basically, this is our resource management tool, and we've got all the different clients here. And basically, we are when we are planning ahead, it's a right tool for us to basically make sure that we can deliver everything in time. And if we need any kind of a changes in the resources, we can plan ahead easily with this tool.
And I would say, if there are any merchants out there that are, who are listening, And I think you're like, look, how do you kind of manage your team internally from a resource point of view? Float is also a really good tool to use from that perspective too. So, this is something that we kind of use internally for resources, but again, it's such an easy thing to be able to see visually exactly what time people have got left. So I think, if you are, you're listening to this as, look, head of e-commerce for a brand, and you obviously got a marketing team, you've got maybe a development team, using Float again is, something that we'd highly recommend, not only from Peter's point of view, but also from my point of view too, as a CEO, of being able to see exactly what's going on at that particular moment in time.
Yeah, it's a very great tool. I think we all like it and a bit of addicted to it.
Absolutely.
Quality assurance and quality control is the next step. So once we finish the build, basically we start this process. We've got a 200 plus items QA/QC list to make sure that all details are in place. So this is what we do for all the stores where we finished the build phase, and basically it's a pretty comprehensive and very, very long list. And also this list is not just for one person, but for the developer, the designer, and the lead, and for the design lead to testing the site. So basically there is 200 items for each person to go through. So altogether 600 things
Wow.
checked at the end. So it's a very comprehensive list, and but we feel that we need it just to make sure that yes, everything is working properly.
I think the thing that I like about this process, I know you created, Peter, was that you've got different different things that different people care about in that QA/QC procedure. And I think that's the thing, is that look, the developer, the designer, the lead tester are all looking at it from different angles. Yes, they've effectively got the same things they're looking at, but I think that's the nice thing about here, is that you've got a different perspective on each of them. Because sometimes, a developer will maybe not see something that a designer will see, and vice versa. And I think that's kind of the benefit, when you're working with an agency, is that making sure that you've got all those different eyes on your project. And, equally, if you're not using an agency, you're doing this in-house, I'm sure, like, with anything that you guys produce, whether it be marketing materials or it's a new product, you'll get different people from different parts of the business to look at what you're doing. And I think that's why the QA/QC is so important, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. That's basically the power of the team and the power of the different insights and point of views are make sense. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Cool.
Yes. So after the QA/QC, once we feel that the site is ready for your review, is basically we send you all the information for you to help you to test the site. So for every project, we've got 2 full rounds of reviews. We provide a video help for you. So we provide a video guide that helps you to test the site. And we are here with maximum 24 hours response time. So when you have any kind of an issue, there's a rule in Blend that there is maximum 24 hours could pass until we provide a response. And I think an important thing to note at this point, that this is the point where usually just you as a client might realize that you need an extra thing. We call it as change request. And I agree with that, so I'm not hiding it, that yes, this could potentially cause delays in the timeline, but because of Float and because of the other systems what we use, these changes can be handled, and we can give you immediate feedback, basically, that yes, this change request will cost, 7 hours a day, and in the timeline, because we have to review it and you have to review it, it might cause 3 days of extra work. So we have to postpone the launch time with potentially 3 days, for example. But we always, so we are not saying that it not happens. It happens, but we are prepared for it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the other thing too is that, I know that kind of when you're scheduling out, you kind of build in that sort of contingency. But I think it's the point that you're making there, I think, is also very important, that, if you are a merchant who's looking at a project, do, try and have at least a bit of a buffer in between the point at which you're going to relaunch in terms of your marketing activities, because, I think, Peter, in my mind, since we started Blend, there's always been something extra in any project that a client will say, oh, actually, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could do X? Or actually, I think we need to change Y slightly differently. And if you stack up that kind of marketing relaunch plan that you've got, and you're committing those marketing dollars, right at the end of a project when you think it's going to go live, that then causes problems. And I think, I think probably having that foresight is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So having a bit of a buffer is always comes handy. And the other thing is what I also want to mention at this point is that prepare time for your review because you will need. Usually my experience is that clients need a day, twice. 2 times a day to fully review the site. So we got two full rounds of reviews, and this requires 2 full days from the client.
I would say, look, guys, block off your calendars. If you're working with an agency and asking, definitely block off your calendar because, I'm sure, Peter, we've had it many times, haven't we, where clients say, look, hey, I haven't had time to do it today. I'll look at it this evening. And it's like, if you're going to commit to a big project, regardless of what it is, you're investing that money in it, you're investing that time in it, invest that time too in doing the review, because ultimately that's going to mean that you're going to get a better product at the end of it. And I think that's going to be the case for any kind of e-commerce project, regardless of what agency you do it with, making sure you structure that time in. I think, from my personal view, Peter, is one of the biggest mistakes that clients make when they work with an agency, is that they don't take account for their part in kind of what they'll need to do. And I know that's kind of something you always talk about very sort of at length with clients at the start in the introduction, so that they make those plans at the end of the project, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the same thing that what we talk about the team, that we are one team with the client, and we need both parties to provide their own time to the project, basically. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
So the launch. So
exciting bit.
Yeah. So that's the most exciting point of the project, I think. So final checks before launch. This is what we do when 2 reviews done. We do some final checks that yes, everything is working. Then we need the client or you to provide your domain provider details. So we usually ask for it in the beginning, but please make sure that the details are at hand. And please note that the domain propagation could take up to 24 hours. So the domain propagation means that until the site is fully goes through the internet, basically, and changes, that takes 24 hours. So it could happen that, for example, I'm in Hungary and I don't see the new site, but someone in the UK might see it, or vice versa. An important thing what I would like to note is that we don't launch on Fridays. The reason is because we are not working on the weekend, and basically we don't want you to be in a position when something's go wrong and you have to urgently change something, but because it's the weekend we cannot do it. And so usually we launch it in the beginning or midweek. And we do some final checks after the launch as well. So once the site is live, there's another final check. And basically, that's the point when we say that, okay, everything is done.
I mean, just in terms of launch as well, Pete, I mean, I know this is kind of always discussed at length on a lot of Shopify forums. In terms of launching, some people say, look, you should always try and launch at a point where traffic's really low, so, in the middle of the night. Some people say that you should launch when the traffic is pretty high, so you can see initial issues coming about. What's kind of your take on that in terms of when you should launch? Should it be in the middle of the night, or do you think it's better to kind of launch when you've got a bit of traffic going through the site to really kind of test it?
Well, it's a good question. My suggestion is safety. So maybe it's better to launch it when the traffic is lower. And make sure that, because we do our final checks as well, so this might be lower risk to do it. However, I can understand the other side of the story, that maybe it's some actions some bugs could appear, but it's not good to get your customers report bugs, because we would like to check everything first and make sure that everything is working, and hopefully there will be no situation like that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and I think the last point is the follow-up. The follow-up means we make sure the results are there. So I think the number one reason why you do the projects is not to have a great project build experience. Maybe this, or maybe you do, but the real reason is the results, of course. So I know that it's a nice feeling to manage the projects in a good way, and it's there. But the real thing is the results at the end. And so basically, we monitor your site, and we will provide feedback for you if we see that something is the result, if the results are not there, or what could be the reason. So we are there with our marketing team as well, who are helping us to make this happen. And of course, we are not a kind of a company who's just saying that, okay, we finished the project, bye, and we take away the money, and that's all. We are there. We will be there and here for you after that. And also we have a 30 days warranty period, which means that if anything happens with the site and there's a bug or something, we are here for you and happy to correct the bug or help you to make the site working perfectly fine.
And I think that's again another thing, isn't it? It's that people often saying, look, should we, kind of go with a freelancer to build our Shopify store, or should we choose an agency? And I think that's the kind of the difference here, isn't it? Is that if you've got more people available, you're going to have these kind of features in where you get the warranty, or you get the ability to people to hop on and kind of fix something if something isn't quite right. And obviously there is going to be a difference in the pricing there, but I guess it depends on how far your brand along, isn't it? The kind of what you need. Yeah,
absolutely. Agree with that.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much, Peter.
And I think a summary of this whole presentation is that we can provide a well-designed system you can trust. And if you think this is the way you would like your projects to be delivered, please contact us at hello@blendcommerce.com. And I think if you provide us all the necessary information at time, our system ensures you that you receive the project in time, in budget, and in outstanding quality, and the results will be there at the end.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I think to answer you, Peter, just kind of summarizing what you've talked about today, I think the things that I've already picked up that I think important for people to consider is that, look, number one, when you start for the project, to think about a project as a joint team effort between you as the client and obviously the agency. I think the other thing too that you mentioned there is that kind of getting to grips with the project management system, or making sure that you understand clearly kind of how the project's going to be run, is going to be something that means that you get the best out of your project. And I think the final thing too, the overarching thing here is that, like you said, is that ultimately the results, like you said, very clearly are what people are looking for. So if it means that, look, actually partway through your project, you realize that you need something additional, or your agency kind of recommends, look, this could be better, don't worry about, maybe those 2 or 3 days here and there. Focus on that longer term picture, which I think is what you're saying, Peter, of look, if you can put those 2 or 3 days in now, what impact is that then going to have on maybe your potential sales or the growth of your company going forward? So I think, for me, if I was going to kind of distill it to 3 points, I feel like those would be the kind of things that we would want people to know really as a result of watching this recording.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the 3 points. Those are the most important ones.
Excellent. Well, look, guys, thank you very much for watching this recording. And as Peter said, if you do have any questions about what we've discussed today, or would like some more information about Blend Commerce, you can reach us hello@blendcommerce.com. As I put in the little ticker bar that was just below us a moment ago, if you have any questions, please do put them in the comments feed of either LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever you'd be watching this. And myself and Peter can get back to you and give you some more information. So, Peter, thanks ever so much again for doing this with me. And yeah, been a really, really good session.
Thank you for the opportunity, and maybe some of the listeners will meet me soon, or we'll see.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, and cheers, guys, for watching.
Okay. Bye.